Hey guys, this is Cheryl, all things Cheryl, here to do a review and a recap on Queen Sugar Season 2, Episode 5. The title on this particular episode is called Carolyn Dusk. Carolyn Dusk. I don't know exactly where to get these titles from, but let's, go in with it. Before we do that, the music that you hear in the background is called You're the Reason, and that's by Gail Small. So I want to make sure that I plug in and thank you, Gail, and for allowing me to basically use your music and making it free. So we're going to start out with Charlie. Charlie is hanging out in the therapist's office. So it seems that Charlie has set up a session with a therapist for Micah and herself. But it looks like Micah is basically hanging out with his Auntie Nova. And their Auntie Nova has actually started another project. And this particular project is with for Habitat, and they are basically constructing houses in New Orleans. So while Micah and Nova is at the sites doing, volunteer work and, building houses and homes and everything, we have Charlie waiting for her son to come to the therapist's office, but it seems like he's not coming. And so she calls up and asks Mike, well, what's going on? And he basically tells her, look, I'm here. I'm doing volunteer work with Nova. You kind of told me that it would look good on my college application, and it seems that I was, doing some volunteer work. So that's basically, what I'm doing. So in the meantime, Charlie hangs up and she tells the therapist, says, well, my son won't be accompanying us today. So it looks like we are going to have to cancel it. So the therapist said, well, why should we cancel it? We should go ahead and do it. You're here. So, let's get on with it. This way, I'll be a little ahead of myself. I'll have a jump on, the type of person or what's going on with you. And so, really, Charlie really wasn't really having it, but she basically went on and, let the doctor start asking questions. We're hanging out with Ralph Angel and Dollar, and basically, Ralph Angel has invited Dollar over to have breakfast with him in Blue. And so while he's sitting down at the table, because they're sitting down at the kitchen table, Ralph Angel basically was telling Dollar, says, why don't you, move in with us and everything, and, you coming and being with, you can be with Blue, all the time. And so Dollar turns the offer down, and she tells Ralph Angel, she says, I want to be with you guys and everything, but I need to kind of sort of be able to support myself. I want to be self-sufficient. And so I thought Ralph Angel was going to basically, have a negative attitude about that, but basically she wasn't. I mean, he wasn't. Sorry, he wasn't, guys. And so we have Aunt Vi, and Aunt Vi, got to put my glasses on, guys. We have Aunt Vi. I've got a couple of pairs, but we have Aunt Vi, right? And so Aunt Vi is kind of like, in the living room, something like that. And she's kind of sort of chilling out, but she at the same time, she's not really comfortable. She's kind of edgy and everything. So Hollywood comes in and he says, well, what's going on with you? What's happening? Why are you so edgy? Why are you, what's going on with you? So basically, and Vi tells Hollywood, he says, my brother has basically left all of this land here for Ralph Angel and Blue. He did not really leave it for Nova and Charlie. And so Holly was kind of upset that, this was happening. And so Vi told Hollywood, and she said, I talked to Ralph Angel, and I told Ralph Angel to kind of keep that under a wrap. It's because once you bring that up, you really have to be able to cover whatever you're about to do. But she said, I basically see that you basically are going to do what you want to do anyway. But I would advise you, if you do that, make sure you'll be able to cover it. So in the meantime, Charlie is still hanging out in the therapist's office. And so the doctor is kind of plugging in at Charlie and asking all these kind of questions. And so Charlie is kind of sort of getting very uncomfortable with the questions that the therapist is throwing at her. And so the therapist is asked Charlie, and she says, are you from a two-house family? And Charlie says, no, I'm not from a two-house family. Actually, my mother basically raised me and everything. And was raised by my mother. So in the meantime, we see that Nova and Micah is basically chilling, hanging out, doing their thing. And guess who comes into town? Robert comes into town. And Micah is basically looking and saying, wait a minute, what's going on? I've never seen this person. So Nova introduces, says, look, Micah, this is Dr. Robert Du Boise. And and then Michael, you can see Michael is kind of sort of getting out of his shell and everything. And he's telling Robert that they're basically here building houses for their. He said, we're here to build houses for our people and stuff like that. And I was like, well, go ahead, Robert. I said, go ahead, Michael. You coming out of your shell here. You're basically coming out of your shell. And so we see Aunt Vi. Aunt Vi is at a kitchen with some pies. And this particular kitchen or this restaurant that she's with, trying to introduce and trying to sell her pies. And this woman is a white woman. She's not really having it. She really don't really want to deal with Aunt Vi. And she's not even really looking her in the eye or anything. So she basically tells Aunt Vi, she says, look, when you get some other people, some other business people selling, I hear that they have bought your pies, then basically you come back and we'll see what we can do then. And so Aunt Vi, didn't really say anything. So she, basically just gone about her business. So we get to Davis. Davis is come to the site where Nova and Micah is. And Davis come to pick up his son so they can spend some quality time and everything. In the meantime, there's this woman over there in the corner. And the media is basically, over there, giving interviews, because she's a part of Nova's project for building houses for humanity habitat. And so they see Davis. And as soon as that they see Davis, all of the attention goes off of this particular singer. So apparently she's, well known within New Orleans. But they see Davis, and everything switches over from from her over into Davis. But then Davis kind of noticed the woman, and he's kind of gotten smitten. So he asks his son, he says, Michael, who is this woman over here? And so Michael said, oh, this is so-and-so. She's a part of, wherever she's a part of. So all of a sudden, the interview switches from her to over to Davis. So all of the attention is basically going on Davis. And so the media says, well, what do you think about the project and everything that's going on? And so Davis kind of sort of gave some lame, some lame speech, basically the same thing what what the woman was saying. And she looking at him and he looking at her, and both of them are like looking at each other. I'm saying, okay, what's going on? She was all right. She was cute. It was what it was. So it looks like Davis may be having an interest here. So we get into Dr. Robert and Nova. They're basically take a walk in the community in New Orleans, in the community. And Nova was telling Robert, Dr. Robert, what was going on with New Orleans, where it is that they had these tour buses and everything that comes through the various neighborhoods that the devastation where Hurricane Katrina came through. People are paying like $45 and $50 to come through the various communities to see the devastation. And we came across a sign saying that these people, the tourists, should be ashamed of themselves, basically coming through, the various neighborhoods and paying to see devastation in the neighborhood and stuff like that. And so we know that Katrina is I don't know whether or not it's just coming up on the 7th year, the 8th year, or 10 years or 11 years. I'm not quite sure, but we still know that New Orleans is still suffering from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. So in the meantime, we go and we see a scene where Dollar and Blue is in Kenya, is in the bathtub. Dollar is bathing or hanging out with Blue. In Kenya is hanging out with Blue in the bathtub along with the dinosaurs and everything. And so Dollar asks Blue, she says, what is it that, you like about Kenya? And Blue says, well, I like Kenya because she talks to me. She keeps I can tell her secrets, I can whisper secrets and everything. And, she's always there, when I need her. And so Dollar was kind of sort of feeling some kind of way. And so I'm saying to myself, don't fuck with Kenya. No, you don't want to mess with this baby's doll. Don't do it. Don't mess with that baby's doll. And so we go to a section where is that Nova and Dr. Robert, the doctor, is sitting down, basically, chilling, getting to know each other. And so the doctor tells Nova, he says, I really, really like you. I really like you. And as the doctor was getting ready to go into, how he's feeling about her, the phone rings. And of course, you know who's on the phone. Charlie. Charlie is all in her feelings because the session that she had with the therapist kind of upset her because she had to dig a little bit about what went down in her childhood. And so she kind of digged into Nova and said, well, really, thank you a lot for letting Michael stand me up and everything. And Nova said, wait a minute, I had no idea that he was supposed to have been, going to a therapist this time. And so she said, well, I apologize and everything. And Charlie says, oh, okay, it was for Habitat Humanity, for Habitat. And she says, well, okay. And so Charlie asked, so Nova asked Charlie, she says, are you all right? Are you sure you all right and everything? But really, Charlie wasn't okay, because she was really upset that the fact that Michael and her were supposed to do the therapy together, but what it wind out to be, it had Charlie had a session with the therapist, and the therapist was hitting some pinpoints that was upsetting her. So she was like, she was kind of like upset about it. And so Nova sat down, went back and sat down with Robert. And so Robert asked her, he says, well, do you want to go out? You want to have dinner and stuff with me or anything? And so Nova says, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I would love to, but this time I really can't. It's something going on with my sister, so I need to go and basically go on and check, what's going on with my sister. So in the meantime, we see Aunt Vi in the bed, feeling some kind of way because she got her first rejection from trying to go out and get some sales for her pies and stuff. And she was listening to all this old school music, and cause here come Hollywood in to save the day. And Hollywood is telling her, he says, well, I'm hoping you're not letting just this one day, deter you from, making your dreams come true and everything. And she says, well, basically, I'm really kind of, I got fear and everything. And Hollywood is like, don't let that stop you. You need to get out there and do your thing and everything. So then we see a section where we see Blue, we see Ralph Angel, and we see Dollar. And the house looked like it was a total wreck. Pillows was all over the floor. Bed mattress was turned upside down, and Blue was in a hissy fit. He was upset and everything. And I was like, no, you didn't. They couldn't find Kenya. Kenya disappeared. And I said to myself, that damn Dollar? I said, and so Dollar summons Ralph Angel. And she says, I took Kenya. And he said, you did what? Let me take my glasses off. I'm sorry, I got sunglasses. I can't find my other ones. But he said, you did what? She says, I threw Kenya away. He said, why would you go and do that? And he was like, where did you put her? Where did you throw her out? She said, well, I took her and I threw her downtown, in the dumpster downtown. So, I be damned. We go downtown and we see Ralph Angel. Ralph Angel has gotten to the dumpsters. And he started digging and everything, looking for Kenya. Started digging and everything. He was getting frustrated and upset. He couldn't find Kenya. Then all of a sudden we see two policemen, one white and one black. And the policeman said, halt, what you doing in that dumpster? Stand up, hold your hand up. And so Ralph Angel holds his hands up like that. And so he turns around. He turns around and that's when he sees the two cops. The white cop and the black cop. And so we find out that the black cop is a childhood friend of Ralph Angel. Right? And so in the meantime, we find out that the cop knew Ralph Angel, and Ralph Angel knew that the cop was gay, right? And so they go into the spill and they talked about how they knew each other. And when Ralph Angel got locked up, he was saying to Ralph Angel, by the way, his name was, I forgot, but anyway, so Ralph Angel went in and said, well, I would never, treat you unfairly or anything like that. Even, I would never do that. And so the cop went on to say, well, you basically, were very, very fair to me when I wasn't quite sure of myself, and that, and then when I did know exactly where I was with myself, you still did not disrespect me or anything like that. And so we go on to find out that the cop used to be a female. And so the female has transitioned into be what we call in the community a trans. So Ralph Angel knew this young woman when she was a woman and she had transitioned over into becoming a male. And so Ralph Angel is telling, his friend and saying, I don't know exactly what's going on with my son and this doll of his, but whatever it is and everything, I'm going to allow my son to be whatever he wants to be. And I don't know where it is, but basically I'm just going to do what, I need to do. That's for my son. And so we go into a scene where it is that we see that Envy has went to another restaurant. And this time this restaurant is a black owned restaurant. And this man was he was very hot, and V and Highwood was coming in with the pies and everything. And this man said, whatever you got and whatever you selling, we ain't taking it. It's too damn hot, and you might as well go on about your business. And so Hollywood said, well, why don't I kind of sort of look at your air condition, and while I'm looking at your air condition, you see exactly what this beautiful woman is talking about. And so, and by, go into her thing about selling her pies and everything. And so the guy, the black owner of the restaurant, she had two pies. So the first one looked like it might have been a pumpkin pie, and the other one, I don't know what the other one looked like. So he takes a fork, and I was like, why is he just digging in a pie? Why don't you slice the pie and take one by one? But of course, you know how some people is, you just take the pie. I'm like, well, damn, she can't really sell another pie. That means she got to, go on and get two more pies. But anyway, I digress with that because I used to be a business person. I used to be a vendor in the streets of D.C., but we'll get at that one time. But anyhow, so the restaurant owner said, oh, this is very good. I'm feeling this pie and everything. I'm really, really feeling this pie. And so in the meantime, while Aunt Vi is doing her pie thing, we see that Davis and Micah has basically left the work site where Nova and Robert was to have some bonding time. Davis to have some bonding time with his son. And so they went to the basketball court. And so Davis said, well, let's do a one-on-one, 3 points. And for every point that you get, I'll do a question. No bars hold. And so at first, bang, Michael goes first. And so right away, Michael got into it. He asked her, he says, are you a sex fiend or sex fanatic? And he basically said, no, I'm not that. He says, I'm just used to basically having my way and people, flunking at me. And I'm trying to change and everything, but, I'm just trying to do it, trying to make that change. So he says, okay, so Davis, he threw his point. And then this is when I was wondering when they was going to come in to find out. And so Davis asked and said, when you were at that police station, did the police rough you up or harmed you or anything like that? And so Michael said, no, they didn't do that whatsoever. He says what it was is that I was very, very upset. I was very scared. It's because this was the first time that anything like this has ever happened to me. I've never been to a place where, I had no control. I couldn't turn, I couldn't do this, and I couldn't do that. And I had never experienced that before. And so they went into the scene, and so this is when it kind of broke that nervousness, and we finally find out the reason why Michael was the way he was is because that was the first time that anything like that had ever happened to him. So in the meantime, we see Charlie, and Charlie's in her apartment, and she gets this knock on the door, and this knock on the door is Nova. And so Nova comes in, and she says, "I'm basically, how you doing?" And Charlie says, I'm okay and everything." She says, and then Nova says, "Well, look, I didn't know that Michael was supposed to have a session this time around." She said, "But basically, I'm here to kind of clean your home." So Nova basically comes in and basically cleans, Charlie's home with sage. She's putting sage throughout the house. She's burning white candles and everything. And the reason why she's doing that is because whenever you basically move into a new home, really, you are supposed to at least clean out all of the negative energy that was there before you got there. Basically, before I moved in to my home, into my apartment, um, I saged my apartment. Basically, the reason why I saged it is because to whatever the energy that was in here before I moved in it, I wanted to, basically bless my home. And my pastor says that, for me to open up all of my windows, open up all of the closets and everything, and basically sage it. So I knew exactly what that was about when Nova was basically blessing the home for Charlie and Micah. And although Charlie wasn't really feeling it because she says, "Well, I don't feel anything right now." And Nova says, "Trust me, you will after I leave." And so we basically go into a scene where we see Ralph Angel and Dollar again dealing with Blue, because it took some time for Blue to kind of settle down, not really being able to have Kenya. And Ralph Angel says, "Well, why would you, basically do that?" And she says, "Well, the reason why I gave Blue the doll was because at the time when I was in my addiction, I did not think that, I was good. So I wanted to give him something to kind of, to keep him company, while I was dealing with my addiction. But now I see that he still is comfortable with Kenya." And so Ralph Angel tells Dollar, he says, "Look, Kenya had nothing to do with, you. You're a good mother, and Kenya had nothing to do with it." And I feel the same way. And so we go to a point where at earlier in the scene, um, Dollar had basically went to Charlie for her to basically look at her resume and stuff like that. And so Charlie, being the type of person that she is, was kind of a stickler. And she basically told Dollar, and she says, well, I see that you have a lot of hit and misses on your resume. And Dollar, and but I see that you also have a few very good companies that you basically had worked with. And so Charlie asks her, she says, where, how did you get these companies that you work with? And so Dollar tells her, and she says, well, my mother and father basically had, a couple of connections, and they were able to, get these jobs for me. And so, and then Charlie says, well, why don't you go back and ask them? And then that's when Dollars told Charlie, well, my folks don't really want to bother with me due to the fact that I got into my addiction. So Dollar kind of left out because she didn't really get into it a little bit more. And then Charlie was like, oh man, I did it again. In the meantime, we got to a point where we get to a point where we see that Nova has 2 cups of coffee. And what it boils down is that, and Nova was looking good. She had on a nice dress. She's always dressed very nice and everything. So she had these 2 cups of coffee. And I'm saying to myself, what's going on? Why did she have these 2 cups of coffee? And come to find out, she called Robert. And then Robbie, comes and says, oh, I'm so glad, I'm very happy that you have invited me. And she tells Robert, the reason why I invited you is that I like you too. And so the scenario is that the same way when they were in Atlanta, Robert had 2 cups of coffee. And so the same scenario as to how Nova let Robert know that she also liked him. She had 2 cups of coffee. And she says, I like you too. And so they, had their coffee. I like the way this is working out, with these two. I think it's going to be dynamic. I think they're going to do very well. Although, they're going to have their ups and downs, but the chemistry is going to be, going on and popping. And I think it's going to be a younger couple of Hollywood and Aunt Vi, but only in my eyes, a younger version. And so in the meantime, we get to a point where Charlie and Nova was basically having, dinner together after Nova had blessed the house. And so Nova basically tells Charlie, she says, you know that your mother has made a control freak out of you. You know that, right? And so Charlie tells Nova, well, you're a control freak too. And she says, but that ain't Vi. She's kind of a control person too. So in my eyes, Charlie is a control freak. Nova is a control freak. And we know hell way up in fire that Ralph Angel is also a control freak. So all of them actually are control freaks. The only one that seems that not really a control freak in my mind and in my eyes is Hollywood. He back there trying to, go vibe, do your thing, and I'm here for you. And so we go with BC, Ralph Angel, and Dollar. Dollar and Ralph Angel has basically bought another replica of Kenya. And basically, Dollar is trying to rough up this doll that, that she bought. And so Blue won't be able to tell the difference. And Ralph Angel saying he gonna be he you're not gonna be able to do it. He ain't gonna he gonna know that this is not Kenyan. And so she says, well, let's see, we'll see. And so um, Dollar gets a phone call, and that phone call is Charlie. And Charlie tells Dollar, she says, I think it's me, and I think I have a position for you. And it's being my assistant. She says it's going to be some long nights. It's going to be some early mornings. It's going to be hard. But are you up to the task? And so basically, Dollar says, yes, I'm up to the task. She says, can you start? When can you start? Can you be here tomorrow? And so Dollar says, yes. So she hangs up the phone. And she says, I got a job. And so Ralph Angel says, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. And he's asks Dollar, he says, where's the job? And she says the job is with Charlie at the mill, being her assistant. If you all should have seen his face, he went from 10 to 0. So this episode was very, very good. But Ralph Angel is feeling some kind of way. He's upset. And he needs to, I don't know. But anyway, this is a little bit more detailed, but you guys know how I am when it comes to, me and my description. I try to be a little bit more detailed, a little longer, but it is what it is. Ava DuVernay and Oprah are basically hitting some major key points in this story. And basically, I kind of think that the storyline with Blue and the storyline with the trans, we know that a lot of people have issues with people who are trans. And you have to understand that when people are trans, it's totally different, and that they're trying to get you to see that they are just human, just like everybody else is. Me myself, I am a queer woman, and I feel that the way Oprah and DuVernay is dealing with these topics. I do know a couple of my fellow people who do the review. They are gay men, but we in our community would like for you all to understand that being trans and being a person of color, queer, and non-conforming is a challenge. And we would like for you to heed. But in the meantime, I want to say this is All Things Cheryl, and I hope you enjoyed the recap and the review. Hit that subscribe button, hit that view button, share. And until the next time, peace and love.